The country we will introduce is Belgium. And the first I will introduce is history. The history of Belgium has very early origin, and it was still governed by main strong powers. In 57 BC, the Emperor Caesar ruled it for a long time. Afterwards, the Emperor Chiayi also take of it. Then, in Spanish times, they kept good relationship because the King of Spain gave Belgium many rights of self-government. So at that time, Belgians was very free. However, the next rural country, Australia, didn't do that thing. The King of Australia performed the centralization of government to Belgium. Finally, Belgians people even fight against the king's strict government. So the king finally recovered Belgium's original self-government. And this picture is at that time the Australia's buildings. In addition to this country, Napoleon also ruled the small country, but Belgium until now still continues some systems such as the currency and the laws. So they was affected by France very deeply. Unfortunately, Belgium's face of being governed by others didn't stop because they continue to be ruled by Holland. Therefore, in 1830, the revolution to defeat the Holland have erupted in Brussels. Then Belgians also named the capital after the Brussels, and the picture triumphal arch is the symbol of its past glory of Brussels. And on October 4th of the 1830, Belgium officially declared its independence, and the war also acknowledged their independence. Although Belgium experienced 2 world wars, it still maintained its state of independence. And with the end of the World War II, the small country even joined the NATO. It is the North Atlantic Treaty Organization in Europe. And in 1957, they even participated in the EC, the European Community. Nowadays, Belgium has become one of the highly developed countries in the world, in addition to its states in Europe. And the following, I will continue to introduce the Belgians' religion. In Belgium, although it is a Catholic country, most people in the country still claim that they are Christian. Therefore, many missionaries. Missionary means that they are foreigners who come to our country to spread or teach the other religion to the local people. And for these missionaries, they find it harder for them to spread the Catholic meanings to those Belgians. Because many Belgians become Catholics on account of the traditional cultures, or such as the family, the factor of family, or some traditions. So the religions such as the Islam, Judaism, and the Protestantism are widely practiced in Belgium. are besides Belgians know very little about the Bible, so they has no interest in the Spring Catholic. And therefore, Catholicism in the country has many increases, and my father English.
Now, I will introduce the language in Belgium. Belgium is a multilingual country, and there are three main language areas in Belgium, such as Dutch areas in the north, and French area in the south, and German area in the east. And because somebody said that Belgium is the crossroads of the world, so that explains why Belgium has so many languages in the countries. And this part is Netherlands, and here is France, and here is Germany. So the three main languages all come from the neighboring countries. The capital is Brussels. This part, and this part it is a bilingual city, and it speaks people here speak Dutch and French. But now, yes, it is a multilingual country, and now English is generally used here. Thank you. That's my presentation.
I want to introduce everybody to the Belgian food. Belgian people like to drink 1 cup of beer and some couch potatoes. They can just spend the whole afternoon eating these 2 kinds of food. And Belgian's beer is very famous because it's made by cluster. Cluster's beer are very well known, such as it's La Ave is French, so I don't know how to pronounce this word. It tastes bitter, acid, and sweet. And Belgian people like to eat fried food. They have fried food. They enjoy eating fried food. And now I want to conclude this project. Belgian has many business people because it's a free country and they can choose whatever they like to do. And their religion is Roman Catholicism. But people have freedom to choose what religion they want to believe in. Although Belgium has experienced a long time of the government has huge powers to control their people, so people didn't have a lot of freedom before, but now they have freedom to choose their government, and that is our good presentation. Thank you.
I want to introduce an entertainment in Finland. To Finland, nature is everywhere. In order to fully enjoy the gift that God gives them, the Finland will go to the country cabin whenever they are free. Therefore, people say that almost every Finland has at least one cabin, and that is made by themselves. When Finland builds their house, the first part they built is the cabin, which they can take a smoke sauna. The smoke sauna transcribed into Chinese is 烟熏三温暖. They splash water onto a very hot stone, and the water will change into steam right away. And the steam is healthy for the respiratory system. So if you go to Finland, there are many hotels provide this service, and also many restaurants provide it. So if you go to there, you must to enjoy this smoke sauna.
Then I will introduce the geography of Finland. Finland is situated in Northern Europe, and a quarter of its total area lies in the north of the Arctic Circle. It has three neighboring countries, Russia, Norway, and Sweden. Finland has the most heavily forested resource in his country, and 65% of country's surface area are covered by the forest. Hence, forestry is the most important work in Finland. And the other outstanding geographic features of Finland is that Finland has 190,000 lakes and as many islands. In conclusion, Finland is the country which has many lakes and islands and a lot of forest. That's all.
Ready. In 1155, the king of Swedish occupied Finland and ruled over Finland by introducing Christian faith. Since Swedish controlled Finland in a mild strategy without any tough restriction, Finland and Swedish maintained a 600 years peace without a war. However, Russia has cast greedy eyes on Finland for a long time and decided to invade Finland. In 1807, when Swedish rejected Russia's request to isolate Britain by cutting Britain's trade with Europe. Therefore, Finland became an autonomous Grand Duchy of Russia in 1809.
Unlike Swedish, Russia suppressed Finlander by severe law, which made Finlander build a strong feeling of hatred. And they began national liberation movement and was independent in 1917 when Russia suffered the civil war on October. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I would like to introduce my part is the gender role. And before I introduce this part, I would like to tell you a little story. And this story is about a Viking fleet. And once upon a time, there is a Viking fleet, and they cruise along the river, and they come across a French landlord. And the French landlord was very curious about what kind of fleet they are and where's their captain. So this French landlord assigned a servant to ask whether they're captain or not. And this servant came to the Viking fleet, and this servant asked, what's your captain's name? And this Viking said, well, there's no captain in our ship, and everyone is equal in our ship. So my point is, the Vikings put great emphasis on the equality of both genders, and they felt no matter you are a woman or you are a man, everyone is equal in their country. So they are the pioneer in the woman right, and women in the past can own a land, and they can even divorce very easily and without any disgrace or without any punishment. So in the past, they are put great emphasis on the equality, but now they are also put very emphasis and is too of great weight with the equality of the gender, and especially Finland. And Finland is also the pioneer in the woman rights. There is even a trend that fathers should learn how to be a nanny. That is in the Helsinki is capital in the Finland, and there is a hospital, and a father needs to learn how to be a nanny. That is, the father needs to learn how to put off or put on the diapers for their baby, and their mother needs to stand by this father and look carefully whether this father did good or not. So I think this is very special for everyone to know this kind of situation. And there are even 31% in the Congress, 31% of women in the Congress, and they even have give the woman the right to vote on the 1906, when the times that there are no country have the right for women to vote for their congressman or their legislator. And my conclusion is, even though they are put great emphasis on the woman right, they can still not eliminate the discrimination on the woman, because even though women can do very heavy work like 搬运工人, and they still can escape this kind of web that men string for them, because there is an old saying there is an old Finnish saying that is, men steer the boat and women row. 翻成中文就是男生就是领导这个船，然后女生就是划船这样。That is, woman needs to follow what the men tell them what to do or what not to do. So even though they put great emphasis on the equality of both women, the woman cannot escape this kind of situation or escape the discrimination on them. And this is our good presentation. Thank you.
Hi everybody, today we want to introduce you Norway. My part is the history of Norway. 11,000 years ago, before the Ice Age, and it had some people living along Norway's coastal area, and they were not another area's people immigrating until 2000 AD. Those new immigrants called Germanic people. Those new immigrants called Germanic people had become the integral race since that time. After 800 AD, Vikings age is coming. Vikings started about 250 years rule of terror, and they invaded their neighbors, including the coastal area of Baltic Sea and British Island, North French and Ireland. They also colonized in Iceland, Greenland, Faroe Island, and North America. After 872 AD, the first king of Norway, Harald I, started to suppress many suzerains. In 11th century, Olaf II forced everybody to believe Christianity. He even called himself as the tutelary god of Norway in 1031. After the end of Vikings age, Norway's trade range expanded, and the power of church grew gradually. In 1130s to 80s, civil wars broke out, and the Germanic businessmen became the pillar of Norway's economic. In 14th, the Black Death reduced the population by 2/3. In 1380, Norway united with Denmark through the royal intermarriage. And in 1814 to 1905, Norway united with Sweden. In World War II, Germany occupied Norway, and the Hong Kong 7th escaped to London. But Norwegians vowed to protect their country. Although the war brought many damage, Norway still bloomed gradually after 1950s. In 1970s, the discovery of oil and gas boosted enhanced water boosted Norway's economic fortune. In 1992, Norway applied for entering European Union. However, in 1994, Norwegian rejected to enter European Union. This is my part, and next one we introduce you the geography of Norway.
Hello everyone, and now I'm introduce the Norway's geography. First, the Norway is located in the western portion of the Scandinavia. Sorry, in the picture it didn't show up, and it is bordering Sweden, Finland, and Russia, and it is rugged of mountains, fjords, and glaciers. And in its landform can be divided into three main parts. The first part is the coast of the fjord, is the coastline, near the coastline, and the second part is the central tablelands. The third part is the southeast lowlands. Besides this, its coastline of over 83,000 kilometers is punctuated by deep fjords, and it has many mountains. That is the Europe's largest glaciers devoted its coastlines. And the northern of the Norway is also known as the land of midnight sun, because it is located in the northern of Arctic Circle. It's very near the Arctic Circle, so in the summer the sun doesn't set, and in the winter most of its land remained dark. And besides this, it has very temperate climate, because there has a Gulf Stream. So it has very temperate climate, and it has best and the brightest in May and from May and September, and it has its worst between November and March. That's my part. Thank you.
And I'm going to talk about the family structure and the food in Norway. First, I'm going to talk about the family structure. And Norway is a monogamous society, which means one husband and one wife. And both the husband and wife have equal rights for the children. And recently, there is a trend in Norway. There are 90% of children that have both parents, but their parents are not married, because which means that there are 1/3 kids are born out of wedlock, and this is because the increased rates of consensual unions. The people there are willing to live together and have children, but they don't want to get married. And the marriage couple, that the divorce rates are raising also, however the fertility rates are falling, which means that in Norway the family are almost small. There are
childness or one child in a family. And then I want to talk about the food in Norway. First, I want to talk about the cut. And in Norway, people will hand the cut and dry it in the wind. It's their traditional food for over 1,000 years. And they will export the dry fish to the rest European areas. It's a very special traditional food in Norway. And there is still another seasonal traditional food in Norway, that is the lamb and cabbage stew, which also called this, but I don't know how to spell it. And it is a big meal for Norway people, because this meal will always appears only on Christmas. And it has a very special point, is that it will be more delicious if you reheat it the other day, the next day. Yes. And then I want to talk about the dessert. The lamb and cabbage stew. There is a picture here, and you can see that. And still there is a roast pork ribs, such like our sausage. And there is still also a picture here, but the material of this food is quite different, because they will kill mutton and sheep's head, all the head, include the eyes and the ears. And it also is in Christmas food. It's a kind of big meal. And I want to talk about the Christmas cake. In Norway, people put their heart in baking cake or breads. They like to bake their own flavored cake or breads. So almost everyone has at least 7 kinds of their own flavored cakes or breads. And that's very special. And last I want to talk about is the Rhubarb Tart. It's a kind of like a fruit pie. And rhubarb is a kind of garden plant, and its leaf stalks can be cooked and eat, and the flavor just like a fruit, And there's still a picture here. Yes, and that's all our group presentation. Hope you enjoy it. Thank you.
Our group is going to introduce Slovenia, and I will introduce the history of Slovenia. Slovenia, it has been the most liberal republic within the former Yugoslav Federation, and always the most prosperous region. And it has made a smooth transition toward democracy and economy. And history, I picked some important centuries and years to introduce the history. And in 6th century, the Slavic ancestor settled in this area, and then in 8th century, it was incorporated into the Frankish Empire, and in 9th century it became part of the whole Roman Empire. And then later most lands belongs to Austria until the formation of the Kingdom of Serbs, Croatians, and the Slovenians in 1980, and which these kingdoms later renamed the Kingdoms of Yugoslavia in 1929. Then in 1945, it became a
consistent Republic of Yugoslavia. Then in 1990, it held the first multi-party elections in Yugoslavia since World War II. And then in 1991, Slovenia declared its independence after its secession from Yugoslavia. And later, in 1992, it became a member of UN, and in 2004, it became a member of EU. This is my part. Thank you.
I will introduce Slovenia's geography. Slovenia is a small country covering 20,000 square kilometers and stretching with its majestic Alps. This is the Alps, and Adriatic Sea and Pannonia Plain. And so its neighbors are Italy, and Austria to the north, and Hungary to the east north, and Croatia to the east south. And Slovenia is always the crossroads of trans-European routes. And most of the Slovenia is dominated by valleys and mountains, covered with forests and woods. Only 10% of the area can be cultivated. Slovenia has 25 kilometers of coast, enables direct access to the Adriatic Sea. And Slovenia is Mediterranean climate on the coast and continental climate in the plateau and valleys to the east. And Slovenia's population of 2 million is an integrated society. Only 90% are Slovenes, and about 10% are Italy, Hungarian, and nationalities of former Yugoslav republics. And Slovenes speaks English, German, and Italian as their second language. And Ljubljana, the Slovenia's medieval capital, is cosmopolitan. The city is dominated by a historical castle and Rhubarb churches and classical public buildings. And the city has an artistic life, especially in the domain of performing arts. In Slovenia, you can explore the underground world of grottos or climb to the peaks of the Alps and admire historical treasures of towns and cities, and enjoy museums, international festivals, fairs, and events. So if you are looking for a destination with everything: mountains, lakes, seashores, and historical castle, churches, you can discover Slovenia. Yeah, that's my presentation.
And next one is Natalie.
I want to introduce ethnic groups. Slavs is long time ago. Slavs divided into 3 parts. Each of them is Eastern Slavs, Western Slavs, and Southern Slavs. And the location of Slovenia causes the complex ethnic groups. The Slovenia consists of two national minority communities, is Italians and Hungarians, and 2 million people is from other ethnic groups, and the latter are mainly immigrants from the territories of the Slovenians, such as Croats, Serbs, and Macedonians, and so forth. 2 millions of people live inclusive in the mountainous Republic of Slovenia, and there are 5,000 to 10,000 residents don't have the rights of residence because of the government's slow processing. And the Italians and the Hungarians are provided rights under the constitution. They have the rights to representation in the National Assembly. They also have another rights, including they can use their own national symbols, enjoy bilingual education, and other privileges. And it also provides for special status and rights for the small Romanic communities. And next one is food.
Hello everybody. I will introduce Slovenia food. And Slovenia food is greatly influenced by their surrounding countries like Australia and Italy. And his food, his traditional food, is more like the feet. The feet means when we eat something, there are many dishes, one by one come to us, and they are very program in the feet. That's Slovenia's traditional food. And this woman put his sorry, the picture is too small. This is apple pie. It's like the traditional dessert in Slovenia. And when you went to Slovenia, you can eat everything, and everything is in like pork or beef, because he's touched the apples and Mediterranean, so he also have fish to offer you to eat. Okay, Slovenia is famous by its wine. Wine. So, grape wine. Okay. And in Slovenia, we found the bottle 2400 years ago. The bottle used to saving wine, and the Slovenia output 21 million gallon wine per year. His kind of wine is about 44 kind, and his wine have two quality, high quality and quality. Slovenia wine growers use year to mark the high quality wine. They have 8 years to represent the high quality wine. The 1917, 1942, 1947, 1952, 1958, 1971, and 1983 and 1999 is considered a high quality wine. And this is red wine, and this is white wine. And this is special wine, ice wine. And this is the Slovenia people used to stocking their wines. Stocking means save their wines. Okay, that's my presentation. That's all my presentation. That's our group presentation.
Some information about Sweden. First, Sweden is at the east coast of the Scandinavia, this island, and the length of his land is 1,500 kilometers and 400 kilometers of his width. And the major of area is about 449 square kilometers. And the length of this country's sea coast is about 7,000 kilometers. And the second are Sweden's neighbors. The west is Norway and the east is Finland. And Sweden faces Denmark across the South Channel. Then the last one is this country have a lot of rivers and the lakes, and the rivers in this country are short, and the lakes in this country is about 2.5% of this nation. And then I'm talking about this country's history. Swedish ancestors left their hometown and moved into Sweden 5,000 years ago. 5,000 years ago, when the ice river disappeared from Europe, then the religion Christianity spread into Sweden at the 10th century and get the influence from the religions. Swedish become the most courageous knight of the Europe. Knight means the soldiers with the sense of honor. He's handsome, I promise. And at the 11th century, the Northern was strong, and Sweden was the king of the Northern Europe. And at the 12th century, Sweden conquered the Finland, and according to the pact, Sweden combined with Norway at 1914 and separated at 19th century. And next, Cecilia will talking about family structure for you.
Hello everybody, it's my turn to introduce about the family structure in Sweden. First, the average rate of birth in Sweden is low. Each couple only has 2 children. Because Swedish people do not have the concept about more children, more auspicious. In addition, the rate of divorce is about 75%. However, parents always spend much more time and effort on children's education. When they have free time, they prefer to play with their children. Second, Swedish men willing to take care of children at home, but men's income is always higher than women's. Accordingly, most men do not prefer to stay at home for long periods. Because of the high tax, both men and women should work out to afford the expense. However, in the future, each couple will show responsibility for housework and go out work. Both men and women have the right to choose their favorite career. What's more, they will also take care of children and do some housework. And the women do not must stay at home anymore. Finally, Swedish people like to go. On weekends, Swedish people like to go picnicking or go to the suburbs with family. They will avoid talking about work temporarily and enjoy the leisure time with family. In their terms, they make a definition of success as the development of oneself. It means that people do not only save their property, but with great interpersonal relationship as well as well reaction with family members. Thank you for listening. It's my turn. Now we turn to Karen. She will introduce about food in Sweden. Thank you.
Hello everybody. I'm going to talk about the food of Sweden. First, the Swedish food is simple, satisfying, and healthy. Maybe they don't have the famous delicious food like Italy or French, but they put more emphasis on the food quality. Their food resource usually comes from the natural resource. For example, they will pick out the mushrooms in the cool autumn and some strawberries. And what's more, they also sometimes go to hunt animals for meat in the mountain and forest. And also due to their geography location, they like to eat seafood. They think that seafood is the most wonderful food for them. And also it could be said that they are a race who eats a lot of fish. And next, I'm going to introduce some specific types of food. And please look at here. And the first one is smörgåsbord. And this word in Swedish language, the smörgås means open sandwich, and the board means table. And all word smörgåsbord means a lot of dishes on the table. So you can choose the food what you want to eat. It's a little like nowadays buffet. And the second one is this. Okay. It's a kind of a way to preservation food, and it usually sold in the cans in supermarket. And when you open it, you will there will a disgusting and strong smell comes out. But this way of preservation can keep the fish from rotting. And the third one is this. This one, if you want to try some fast food in Swedish, and you can go to this. This is a hot dog stand on the street. And the fourth one, this one, it's a Swedish home-like meal, and you usually serve on Thursday. And the fifth one is this. This one, actually, the way of cooking this food is mix up everything. This is the Swedish best way to deal with the restful of last night. And that's one. This one is a crayfish party. Crayfish is looks delicious, right? Okay. So, and this, if you go to Sweden on August, you might be invited to join this party. That's the food. Okay, now I'm going to make a conclusion. Sweden is on the east coast of Scandinavia, and it's on the north hemisphere and eastern hemisphere. The neighbor country of Sweden is Finland at the east and Norway in the west. And there is a channel as the sea separating Sweden and Denmark. And the Swedish ancestors immigrated into Swedish when the ice river disappeared from Europe 5,000 years ago. And also when the World War I and World War II, they didn't join the two world wars. So they didn't get harmed from the war and also maintain peaceful after the war. And the Swedish rate of divorce is 75% because they don't think the more children the better. So they don't burn a lot of children. And both women and men should share the housework and go to jobs. Also, even though they are very busy, they still think the relationship and interaction between family members is very important. And the Swedish food is simple, satisfying, and healthy. And they think the high quality of food is necessary. Also, but nowadays their food culture is affected by other countries, so their food is go for the internalization. Our food presentation is all about, and we wish you can know more information about Sweden. Thanks for all your listening.
Today our group want to talking about the Turkey. Turkey is located in Central Asia, and it is a very mysterious country. A few couple years ago, many people would think Turkey is is a country that full of many secrets. So many people would think Turkey is very mysterious. So many people want to know much about the Turkey. With the economic development, development and the traffic development progresses gradually, and more people will take a visit to Turkey and open her mysterious veil. And our group will introduce 4 parts of Turkey. The first one is climate, and the second one is food, and third one is transportation, and the last one is family structure. And I will introduce the climate first. In Turkey, do you know the Black Sea? Have you Black Sea in Chinese is Heihai. I think you have read the Black Sea in geographic book in junior high school, right? You know the Black Sea, it is very hot in summer, but in winter it is very warm and rains a lot, right? So the Black Sea, because its unique climate, this reason, so he can pregnant with many food and many flowers, etc. And second, I want to talk about its basic weather. Its weather is very simple. In summer, it is very hot and dry, but in winter, it is very cool and rains a lot. And another important crucial point is in Turkey, the different temperature in the evening and the morning is very large. The difference is very large. So I suggest that if you take a trip to Turkey, you have better to bring the thick overcoat in order to avoid the coldness, because the temperature difference is very large. And what's more, the sunshine there is very, very strong. So tourists take trip to Turkey had better to bring the sunglasses to prevent the sunshine. The sunshine will harm our skin very deeply. So when travel to Turkey, we had better to bring the thick overcoat and sunglasses because it's unique weather. Okay, so next we will introduce the food.
Okay, it's my turn to introduce the food in Turkey. First, this food is called, sorry, the picture is too small. This kind of food is called shawarma in Taiwan. But I don't know how to read it in Turkish. Because Turkey is an Islam country, so they don't eat pork. They only eat chicken, beef, or mutton. Mutton means 羊肉. And this kind of food is made by a bread with some mutton inside. I think you can see it in the night market in Taiwan. And the next one would be the Turkish ice cream. It has 2 flavors. One is chocolate and another is vanilla. I think you guys can also see it in the night market. And the third would be this kind of food called simit in Turkish. It looks like bagel, and it is made by a pastry with some salami on it. Salami means 芝麻，就是一块饼上面有很多芝麻这样子。If you go to Turkey, you can buy it very easily because many vendors on the street or in the market may sell this kind of food. And the last one would be the Turkish wine. It is made by grapes. It it is very famous in Turkey. And this my introduce about the Turkish food. And if you have chance to go to Turkey, you can give it a try with this kind of food.
Okay, now I'm talking about the family structure in Turkey. Family structure can be categorized as small families and large families. And large families, as we know, is the traditional family. And a small family also be called as nuclear family. And in recent years, because of the economical prosperity, more and more young people leave their country to the big cities to seek for the work opportunities. In this area, nuclear families increases a lot. On the contrary, some places that are still backward, such as in Turkey's northeastern areas, traditional families has accounted for a major part. In addition, about 99% people in Turkey, they believe in Islam. So each man can have 4 wives. Now I'm talking about the transportation about Turkey. If you want to visit to Turkey, first you have to take the airplane. After you arrived, how to start your trip? Taking the bus is the best choice, and bus is the most convenient vehicle. Then how to find the bus stop? The bus stop is very simple and noticeable in Turkey. There's a big D, an alphabet D, on the bus stop, and you can, if you find a bus stop, you can just stand by it and wait for the bus. And in Turkey, there are 2 kinds of bus. One is a long distance bus. In Turkey, I don't know how to pronounce it. In Turkey is OTOGA. It sounds like Otoga, I think. It's long distance bus. And the another one is small bus. Small bus can carry on about 15 people. And I think it's especially because when you take the small bus, no matter how far your destination is, you just have to pay the same price. Then you can take the bus. Then another choice to visit Turkey is the train, but the train is very slow in Turkey. If you have enough time, you can try it. And in Turkey, there are some famous cities in the city. There are many famous cities near the ocean, and you can take the ship. In Turkey, there's a sub. We are going to introduce Ukraine to you. Ukraine is a country located in Eastern Europe, at the crossroads between Asia and Europe.
Being a member state of the Commonwealth of Independent States (CIS), she plays an important part in this organization. She exports a great deal of agriculture and industrial products to surrounding countries. Yolanda will explain it more in the next part, agriculture. And Kiev is in the center. Kiev is the capital of Ukraine. Kiev is the capital of Ukraine. It was used to be a center of trade routes. And St. Sophia Cathedral and Kiev University are two famous scenes there. If you would travel there, don't miss there. And following, we will focus on four aspects: food and agriculture and transportation, and ethnic groups finally. First of all, foods, of course. Common meals in Ukraine are full of eggs, butter, cream, and cheese, and fried foods, and most importantly, wheat flour. And there are two important and traditional dishes of Ukraine. They are very famous the world over. One is vareniki. Vareniki is this. Yes, vareniki is somewhat like our Chinese dumplings. Both of them are boiled, but the difference between them is stuffing. Stuffing in our Chinese dumplings are mince, whereas theirs are cheese and mashed potatoes and some herbs, etc. And the next one is borscht. Borscht is what we call 罗宋汤 in Chinese. What we call it 罗宋汤because ancient Chinese always heard Russia, 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 and so they translate Russian soups into 罗宋汤. So that's it. And borscht is one kind of beet soup. Beet is a red vegetable. So something special of borscht is its color, of course. It's beet-faced. That is to say, it's bright red. And you may feel a little bit confused about borscht. Is Ukrainian dish or Russian dish? The answer is both, because date back to about 1,000 years ago, Russia and Ukraine are from the same root. They are used to under control of the same empire, and after the empire is depart, they become different countries, but they still share some traditions and cuisine. So that's why Ukraine dishes are a little bit similar to other countries in Eastern Europe. That's all for the part of food.
And my part is agriculture and transportation. And first, I would like to talk about some agriculture. And before I introduce it, I will mention her climate. The climate of Ukraine is moderate. Winter is rather mild and with no severe frost, but with some regular snowfalls, just like these pictures, snowfalls. And the fertile black soil is well watered in spring and autumn and gets plenty of sunshine in summer. And therefore, due to the favorable climatic conditions, Ukraine is traditionally an agricultural area, and it grows wheat, maize, buckwheat,
and other corn, red and green vegetables, and all kinds of fruit, such as melons and berries. And Ukraine is one of the world's main centers of sugar production. It produces both for her own needs and for export. And as a result, she is the biggest export country of the agricultural products. And that's all for agriculture. And now I will turn to the transportation. Most Ukrainian cities have extensive public transport system, which operates from 6 a.m. to 1 a.m. And although buses, trams, and trolleys are rather slow, but it is a cheap way to travel within cities. And the transportation in Ukraine contains waterways, highways, railways, pipelines, and airports. And the waterways total length is about 1,600 kilometers, and the railways is about 22,500 kilometers, and the highways is about 170,000 kilometers, and the highway is the longest one among the Ukraine's transportation. And because of the abundant transport system, Ukraine's economy could develop very quickly. In addition, Ukraine is located in the centers of Asia. As a result, Ukraine's transportation plays an important role in Asia, in the world. That's all.
Now I'm going to tell about the ethnic group. When it comes to Ukraine, it is the number 5 in the rank of the territories in Europe, and there are 51,300,000 people living here. And in fact, the number is the subtotal populations of Sweden, Denmark, and Switzerland, and Austria, Holland, and Belgium. And let's look at this picture. This is told about the ethnic group structures in Ukraine. In total, there are 110 ethnic groups. And you can see the blue one stands for the Ukrainian, and they account for 78% of the whole population. And you can see this picture. There are colors in Ukraine, and you can have an idea about their appearance. And Ukrainians mainly live in the center and west Ukraine. And because of their superiorities of population, the main language in Ukraine is, of course, Ukrainian. And some people also master Russian and Russian. And some well-educated people also can speak English. And the green part stands for the other minority ethnic group. And they mainly inhabit in some remote areas. And although we often hear some stress between different races in one country, right? But however, in Ukraine there is no racial conflicts. And instead, the residents in here are very careful about the rights of this minority group. And I want to give you our conclusions. And before it, I want to mention the national flag. And it is stand for the grand field under the blue sky. Right? And first fruit, Ukraine food Ukraine food are affected by their historical facts, so their traditional food are associated with other countries in Eastern Europe, and they have the potential quality to develop their agriculture. So it is really a traditional agriculture country, and then it is their transportation really play a very important role in the world. And finally, as I have told, the country is a very harmonious society. So it is very peaceful for every race. And the most important is after our presentation, I hope all of you can get a deeper understanding of the Ukraine culture. And thank you for listening.